Finally, we have reached the last lesson of this series, where we're gonna review additional settings, the ones that we have not talked about before. So let's start with the scroll step size option. This option lets us specify the speed with which we're gonna scroll the page up and down by using J and K keys. If instead of using 60, I'm gonna use 5, in this case, we're seeing how slow the page will be scrolled when I'm gonna use J and K, or in my case K and L, since I have remapped those keys to scroll up and down. The next setting allows us to specify which numbers will be used to label links in a link hint mode, the mode that we activate by pressing F. Next to each link there is a label with some numbers that are used to open up the link. So in this input field we can specify numbers which will be used for those links. Let's say I'm gonna leave 0, 1 and 2, and this way after pressing F we can see that only those numbers are used for labeling links, but I'm gonna reset this setting back to the default that all numbers will be used. Let's move on to another setting. Use smooth scrolling option is pretty explanatory. If we'll disable it and try to scroll the page up and down, the scrolling will not be smooth, so I prefer to keep this option on. In this way, the scrolling will be much more pleasant to eyes. We have already discussed the next option, which basically changes the way link hint mode works. If this option is disabled, markers shown next to every link will be alphabetic, and to navigate to the particular link we'll have to press that sequence of keys. But if you'd like to use numbers instead, or simply type in the link text and press enter to open a particular link, we can keep this option on. And the next one as well, since this option allows us to navigate to a particular link by pressing enter. The next option allows us to specify whether we want the first input field to receive focus right away when we open up the new tab. For example, like here, if I'm gonna open up this page, right away the focus has been put onto the first input field. If I would like to disable this behavior, I will basically keep this option on. And if I'll open up that same page with an input field, in this case, that input field will not receive the focus. The next option is Ignore Keyboard Layout, and this option lets you use Vimium keyboard shortcuts when using different keyboard layouts, not only English. In case you have several keyboard layouts and you can toggle between them, Vimium keyboard shortcuts are going to work with any layout. Moving on, anytime we open up new tab, by default the empty tab will be open, but if you'd like to specify a particular page that has to be open within the new tab, the URL of that page we can specify in this input field. I'm gonna use custom URL, and after saving the changes and pressing T to open up new tab, this new tab will contain the specified page. And the next input field allows us to redefine some colors of UI elements of this Vimium extension. There is a separate page in the wiki section called Themes. Right here you can find list of all predefined themes that you can use for this extension. I'm gonna look for theme called Cappuccino. Let's open up repository of this theme, and right here we can find the instructions how to enable this theme. Basically, to enable this theme we'll have to use CSS code, copy this whole CSS into this text area and save the changes. And now if we'll open up search panel to make sure that the new colors have been applied, sure enough we're seeing that colors of the UI elements have been changed. At the end there is this download backup button which allows us to export current settings in a separate file, and later on you can import those settings whether on a different machine or in a different browser by pressing choose file and specify the file with exported settings. I'm going to export my current settings and add the file with exported settings in the repository on GitHub, link to which I'm going to leave in the video description. And with that we are finishing this series on a Vimium extension.